Being a fan of The Dark Knight for so long, we kind of get lost in the mythology and all the years of comics and TV shows and cartoons and movies that we lose perspective a lot of the time. We swim in our nostalgia, and I think we lack clarity for a lot of things. Here's the thing: Burton's Batman 1989. We're just gonna jump right in. I'm not gonna go into Joel Schumacher. I'm not gonna go into Christopher Nolan. I'm not even gonna go to the Adam West Batman that much, right? Here's the thing: does Batman '89 hold up? Is it a legitimately good film? This question has puzzled me for years now, because like a lot of people, I watched this film as a kid and loved it. It was one of my favorite movies of all time, and a lot of people who saw it originally in 1989 felt that way. In fact, I feel like that feeling towards this film, this love for this film, has still carried on. Doug Walker, the nostalgia critic, still puts it ahead of The Dark Knight and other Batman films. James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd, still does this. A lot of people I meet and talk to still think this is the definitive Batman movie. Now, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of people that hate the movie, and it was even very criticized at the time. It got mixed reviews, really. It got positive reviews, but Batman wasn't like critically acclaimed. It wasn't one of the best reviewed films of 1989 or anything like that. It was just a huge hit. It made a shitload of money. It made a lot of money in merchandise. Jack Nicholson got super rich off of it, and a bunch of scenes became famous because Tim Burton directed them and Jack Nicholson was in them playing the Joker. But when you go back and watch the movie, is it a good movie? Does it have a good story? Does it have good characters? Does it have good special effects, plot development, mystery? Does it move the Batman mythos further? Does it do anything new? Is it this dark, groundbreaking comic book film that put things in a new place? And I'm going to say, if you're a fan of this movie, you probably shouldn't watch past this because you're just going to get mad, so I don't want to upset you. Or, if, like, you love this movie, because I'm going to answer that question. And my answer is no. I've debated making this video for months now because I didn't know. And then rewatching Batman again now for I've seen it over 100 times at least, But rewatching Batman again, I'm just going to say it. Batman's not a good movie. It has good scenes. It has good parts. There's no question. There's great scenes. There's, shields. And the shields go up on the Batmobile. And there's great scenes with the Joker. And there's plenty of... Let's get the good things out of the way. Danny Elfman's score. Iconic. Beautiful. Just immediately hits you as soon as the film starts, gives scenes in the film that probably wouldn't work that well dramatically way more power, is gothic-y, pretty much the basis for what the music cues they took that led to the animated series. On point. Still the best Batman score of all time, no question. The next thing, all right, we have to mention, who I think was probably the biggest contributor to this entire film, actually, and probably is the reason that it was the hit it was, as much as Jack Nicholson. I think Jack Nicholson was a huge key for why this film was a hit, because they were able to advertise the movie with him as the Joker and the character of Batman, obviously. But the person I think really deserves the most credit for why Batman became an iconic film for a lot of people, and that would be Anton Furst, who tragically I think committed suicide soon after this movie, like a year or two after. He did the set design for In the Company and Wolves, and I also think he worked on Full Metal Jacket, and Burton actually wanted to work with him before. And his work on Batman is terrific. His design of the Batmobile, his design of Gotham City, the way everything looks, just the set design. Once again, the animated series took a lot of its visual cue from this movie, and it looks awesome. I love the actual production design of this film, and I think Anton Furst very much deserved his Academy Award. I'm pretty sure he won an Academy Award for this, and he deserved it. It's a great looking film from that perspective. Okay, so those things are good. Those things are generally good. Jack Nicholson gives a good performance, and in Michael Keaton's credit, he gives a pretty good performance too. They both give very engaging, pretty charged performance. I actually think Michael Keaton gives this is all. I think this is Michael Keaton really giving a pretty good... I actually like his Batman quite a bit. Okay, so that's the positive. That's what I still like about Batman. What don't I like about Batman? Pretty much everything else. Vicky Vale's awful. Kim Basinger is an awful actress. Vicky Vale and Bruce Wayne have no chemistry. Vicky Vale just wanders throughout the movie and feels like she has more screen time than Bruce Wayne. She feels like more of a central character than Bruce Wayne does, which becomes very annoying. I don't mind a love story with Batman. I didn't mind in Batman Begins the love story or anything that with Rachel, but the story was still about Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne comes into this movie not even like a person. He's just wandering through his house, and he's always curious and looking off and hanging out with Alfred and eating soup. And there's a chemistry there with him and Alfred. There's something there that could be fun and interesting. There's a tragedy to this film's production because there was a point that Joe Dante was going to work on this film. They had a lot of different script ideas. I think Tim Curry was considered at one point for the Joker. Alec Baldwin for Batman. There was better casting to be done here. I just want to the way, there was better casting for Batman and the Joker in this film. I love Jack Nicholson, but Tim Curry would be a far superior Joker. Just think about how scary he is as Pennywise in it, and think about him playing the Joker circa 1989. Are you kidding me? It's not even close. Jack Nicholson, this is Jack Nicholson after his prime. He'd already done One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or something. And Alec Baldwin, honestly, in 89 was perfect casting for Bruce Wayne Batman. I'm not knocking the acting, though. The actors aren't the issue. It's Burton. Burton clearly has no interest in comic books, in Batman, or in the mythology. When he talks about Batman, he talks about the duality of Batman and Bruce Wayne, and he says that's the core center of the character. That's just not true. There really isn't a duality between Batman and Bruce Wayne. There's really just Batman. He thinks that there's a struggle between the two characters, and he's interested in the monster side of it. That's why all the scenes that are really cool are the Joker scenes. You know, wait till you get a load of me. Those are the good scenes because they're engaging, because Burton, the framing of them, the way he's interested in them, they're the most interesting scenes in the movie, no doubt. The Batman scenes, you go back and watch it, people criticize Christopher Nolan's fight scenes and action choreography. I'm confused. I get the criticism. It looks like the Bourne films. But you go back and watch this film. What was the comparison? Batman has shit action choreography. It looks ridiculous. There's the one scene with the swords that John Peters was obsessed with putting in the movie. But basically, it's just Batman doing like one-hit punches or kicks. There's one little cool punch-kick move and a couple other scenes. You know, the scene in the art museum where he uses the fucking... when he gets out of there with the Batarang or whatever, that's cool. He uses bat gadgets in the movie sometimes, and it's really cool. The Batmobile's awesome, but it's all just energy that's superficial that comes from the score and the set design. The script is actually really mediocre. It's really not that well put together. It could be interesting, this idea that the Joker kills Batman's parents and they have this kind of this revenge story, but it's not really that well developed. Michael Keaton's version of Bruce Wayne isn't that well developed. You don't really get to know the guy, and thus you don't get a good perspective on his Batman or how this relates to him. Also, it has the terrible "let's get nuts" scene, which is an awful scene that makes no sense. Batman goes into a room with the Joker with the gun and puts this thing on his coat, and he knows the Joker's going to shoot him there, not in the fucking head, and kill him. Okay. That seems like a pretty dumb Batman. I mean, that's the thing. Batman does dumb stuff throughout the movie. And fucking Alfred brings Vicky Vale into the Batcave, which is ridiculous. there's just stuff like that the whole movie. Tim Burton, it's like he never picked up a Batman comic. He said that he liked Alan Moore's The Killing Joke, and it feels like that's the only book he ever read, and that was his only basis of Batman. And he fell in love with the Joker, and then he was like, oh fuck, I don't know a lot about Batman. And that's the problem with this movie. Burton, despite what a lot of people say, oh, he was the perfect director for this. He did Beetlejuice and Pee-wee, and he had that gothic vision. On paper, it makes sense, and it did perform well. The movie was a huge hit. My argument is that the film would have performed well otherwise. I think the film could have been a hit with a lot of the same team and a better filmmaker. And this is going to be a controversial because I know a lot of people love Burton's Batman. Seriously, go back and watch this film. Vox, the fucking reporter guy that's Vicky Vale's best friend, played by Arliss. This dude's so unfunny. He's some of the worst comedic relief in a film from the 80s. He doesn't have any funny lines. He's just trying to be Albert Brooks or something in Taxi Driver. He's not funny. He goes around the whole movie, adds nothing to it, really. And there's a lot of the screen time focused on these characters and what they're doing. There's really not a lot of Batman Joker in the movie, or Bruce Wayne, at all. Now, that doesn't mean there's not segments of the film that kind of pick up momentum. The last 10, 15 minutes with the fight in the city, and then Batman going to the tower and fighting the Joker, pretty entertaining. Burton actually gets some energy there. However, once again, the Batjet comes out, he shoots at the Joker, one of the dumbest scenes in film history. doesn't hit him once. And this is a Batman who kills throughout the whole movie, so he doesn't care if he kills people. And then the Joker takes down his, the plane, the jet with one fucking bullet. It's things like that Tim Burton does. It's so cartoony. That's cartoony. That's silly. That's not that above an Adam West-esque type of Batman. And then people talk about how dark and serious this film is, and I watched it, and I'm like, this film isn't dark or serious at all. It's like a parody. It's like Burton had this idea of classic comic books and stuff, and he was so art house and film school geeky that he thought he could approach it that way and bring some of it to, but he doesn't bring any of the personality that was in Beetlejuice or that was in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. This is one of Burton's most boring films. It doesn't feel like a Tim Burton movie, hardly. Like, you take the score out and it's dull. I mean, it's really dull. I mean, it's so much, it's just really boring dialogue scenes, mediocre dialogue with an occasionally catchy line, but it's written to be a trailer line. Then lines that make no sense. Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight? That makes no sense. That's one of the most famous lines in movie history, and it's stupid. It just sounds cool. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight? And then it's just a callback to later. It's just for a callback. It's like, that's all it is. And this is throughout the whole movie. It's one cliche writing technique after another. It's a film that's trying to be classic, like Star Wars was, like be complete classicism and structure. But it's just, it doesn't have the heart of like Richard Donner's Superman. It doesn't have the integrity or the depth or the exploring of the mythos. There's no exploration of Batman's mythos in Tim Burton's Batman. He doesn't give a fuck about Batman. I mean, the closest you get is like he's hanging upside down when Vicky Vale's sleeping. He's weird. But that's the thing, they just make him kind of weird. And I like the craziness when he's Batman, but not enough Batman in this movie. Holy shit. This is a 2-hour film, and Batman barely feels like he's in the goddamn thing, which I would not mind if it was a good Bruce Wayne story. Mind you, in Batman Returns, there's even less Bruce Wayne in Batman. But in Batman, it's just, there's a good movie in here. That's what ticks me off about it in retrospect. If Joe Dante had directed this, who I think was a better fit than Burton at the time, I think Joe Dante would have made a better film. I like Tim Burton. I think Ed Wood's an amazing movie. I just don't think he was right for Batman. I don't think he cared enough about the material. I just don't think he gave a shit. This isn't a comic book elitism thing. It's in the movie. The movie is passionless. It's a product by John Peters of a late 80s cocaine-induced fever dream era, and it is just a product that sold toy. And they didn't even have merchandising ready. They didn't even know it was going to sell and be such a big hit. Like, it became unexpected that Batman was such a big hit in the merchandise. They tried to make this, I think they thought they were making this serious, real quality film, and it comes off cheesy to me. Like, I just cringe during parts of Batman. There's just not enough there to hold up. And it's funny because on the Simpsons, there's a Simpsons DVD commentary. One of my favorite moments is they all talk about that they all went to go see a screening of Batman. The whole staff went one time in '89, and they had an argument at the time whether or not it was a good movie, and now everyone who back then agrees it wasn't. I feel like yeah, I was so young when it came out, but I wonder if I'd been older, would I have been caught up in the wave of Batman, just because we didn't get a lot of stuff back then. We didn't get, Batman Begins and Iron Man and all that shit that exists today. But when I hate it because I want to like this movie. I do. I used to love this movie. I used to quote this movie and think about it all the time, and I can't even stand it anymore. I think it's one of Tim Burton's worst movies. I don't think it's that good of a movie at all. I can't find the thing that Doug Walker and them talk about that's so compelling and interesting about it. It's not that funny. There's much funnier scenes in other comic book movies. It's not that iconic. It doesn't have that many great action scene shots. It's not even that great of a character interaction. Vicky Vale's one of the worst characters in any comic book film. It's a terrible character, and they spend so much time on her. It's ridiculous. It reminds me of Batman Forever, how much time they spend on fucking Nicole Kidman. It's like the whole movie. It's like, Jesus. And this film, if anything, it just feels dated. I feel like it's dated now. There's great little scenes, the bat plane flying into the moon. Obviously, that stuff's awesome. That's 10 out of 10 stuff. But those are little moments spread out. It doesn't make a movie good. That's the thing. You watch it now and you realize at the time when people saw Batman, it was a blockbuster. Came out the year Back to the Future Part 2 did, and Last Crusade, and Ghostbusters 2. So it was a blockbuster. So you could think at the time watching this, all those big blockbuster moments, like it had the highest opening weekend of all time at like 40 million. you can imagine all those blockbuster moments really satisfying an audience and getting an applause. Like, man, you just put shields on the Batmobile. But with time, like a lot of movies, once the special effects get dated, like, say, Superman, you have to watch the movie for what it is. And Richard Donner's Superman, I think, is still a good movie. Christopher Reeve still gives a great performance, a truly iconic performance, and the film still has great sequences. And for about the first hour of Superman the movie, which I might talk about someday, about the first half of that movie is amazing. Tim Burton's Batman never really gets going. It has 5 minutes of good scenes, and it drags down again when it goes to Vale and Vox, and then the Joker makes it interesting again. But the biggest issue with it, that it lacks focus on Batman. It's called Batman, but it's really about the Joker, and they sold the movie on that. I think the movie was, a big part of it being a hit was because of that. You could say The Dark Knight did the same thing, but that's not really true. Heath Ledger's Joker only has like 20 minutes-esque of screen time in The Dark Knight, maybe a half hour. He's not in the whole movie. And the movie, while having his presence, is still ultimately a Batman film with a lot of characters, and there's a lot of storylines going on. Burton's Batman's really only about Jack Napier and his story, and I think he gives you way too much story on the Joker. Gotham looks small. There's not a lot of people in the city. I don't think this film holds up. I don't think it's a... I would need a better explanation from someone why it's a good movie, because every time somebody praises it, and you know, Sam Hamm worked on the script and stuff, and I've read some earlier drafts, there's better drafts of the screenplay, earlier drafts. And I feel like if Joe Dante would have done this post-Gremlins, before he made Matinee, you know, Explorers, I think he would have done something truly great with his action scenes, and with or someone like George Miller, if he could have directed this back then, that would have been really exciting. Maybe Mel Gibson as Batman, 1989, a little Lethal Weapon Batman. There's just, damn it, it's like, this could be a badass classic action film from the late 80s. This film had everything going for it. It had the budget, the support, the name. It was a huge hit. And I go back and I just don't have the love for it anymore. I prefer the animated series. I prefer the video games. I prefer the Nolan films. I prefer so much more in the comic books. This doesn't... I even think I prefer Adam West's Batman movie because I laugh at that. And this movie, I don't laugh at it much when I watch it now because it's not that funny. There's not a lot of action or energy to it. And I'm not that compelled because it doesn't add much to the Batman mythos. It's just like an entry-level Batman film because Tim Burton had an entry-level understanding of Batman. And it shows. And I don't know if every year I feel like this movie gets worse in my mind, and when I try to go back and watch it and see it as something else, there is some nostalgia that comes out at points, but when you get to near the end, I start to just get really bored. I think it drags. The second act just kills Batman. It really does. It has an awful second act with the worst scenes in the movie in it. The Prince soundtrack, while cool idea at the time, now makes the movie feel painfully dated. Should have just focused on the score. And there's just not enough meat to the movie. There's not enough material there. It feels like things weren't fleshed out. It feels like they just did things to make money. Like, hey, the sword fight scene will be cool. And we know they did. We find out later that's why they did a lot of things. Burton's came out and made it clear he doesn't like comic books. That doesn't mean you can't make a good movie, obviously. But I don't even get his approach to Batman. I don't even get the premise of the film, and it's kind of a wandering film. It meanders the whole time. It's him trying to make an artsy film that's trying to be a commercial blockbuster at the same time, and the juxtaposition doesn't work in the way Nolan did it with Batman Begins, because Nolan made a crowd pleaser with Batman Begins. It still brought over those things that he presented in Memento or Insomnia that a lot of us liked about him, the way he edited his films and told non-linear stories and stuff. He did that very well in Batman Begins. And it was a new take on Batman. It was a much more grounded take on Batman, and then he kept so much stuff from the comic books and adapted in his way. It was a very respectable approach. It was like, this is a guy's vision of the storyline. The problem with Burton is that he had no vision. Batman lacks any creative vision. You could argue if Batman Returns has vision, as some kind of Elseworlds tale, right? You can argue if Joel Schumacher even had a vision of some Broadway-esque Batman. I don't think Tim Burton had a vision on Batman. I think John Peters had a vision of a film he wanted to make money, and it did happen. So that is on the success of Batman is John Peters' success. Tim Burton's filmography, this isn't one of his best works. It isn't one of the best film of the 80s. It isn't one of the best superhero comic book films. And I used to always put this in my top 10. I used to be like, oh, top 10. I think the generic Marvel film's at the level of Batman now. I think, like any Marvel film that comes out, it's pretty much on the level or better than Batman. By far. And Batman, you just go back and watch it. Take the nostalgia goggles off and just watch it objectively as a film. I'm not saying people don't have opinions, and if you love this film, you're wrong. I'm not trying to say that at all. That's an asshole thing to do. What I'm saying is I need to know what's so great about this movie, because all I see is a really cheap looking, poorly paced, poorly thought out, underwritten, two-dimensional film that does nothing new. And the argument that it was a darker film for the genre, when you go back and watch it, it's a pretty light film for the 80s. It's not that dark. It has dark scenes for sure. There's some really dark scenes in there with the Joker. But for the most part, it's fairly tame. And I kind of wish it would have went further with its reputation that we all give it. Like, Blade has a reputation for being badass. You go back and watch Blade. Blade's still bloody as fuck. The opening to Blade's still hardcore. Batman doesn't have anything in hardcore, and it's just... I don't know. Yeah, cool. There's cool moments. The shadow and the sets and him going, I'm Batman. You know, yeah, I get geeked out when I see those moments still. They're cool, man. But it's a 2-hour and 10-minute movie, and the meat of it is just a really blah film. And for me, it was a bad step in Burton's career. I think he could have made better films, and I think he bounced back with Ed Wood. I think films like this helped him come back and get more creative. I think he didn't have a good time with Batman, because I think it shows. I think this isn't what he wanted to do. Think how much heart he put into Ed Wood. He put everything he fucking had into that movie and that wonderful piece of just film. There's so much heart in every frame of Ed Wood, and I don't feel that same way about Batman. And as the time goes on, I still argue with people who claim Jack Nicholson's Joker was the best, and they still say that it's the best Batman movie, and I just don't get it. I'm still in this craziness, because it's just, man, it's a shitty adaptation of the comics, and it's a mediocre film. So the question is, does Burton's Batman hold up? You know, and I want to look at some other films from, you know, that I used to love as a kid and see if they hold up. And I gotta say, no. I don't think it does. I think just to summarize one more time, the biggest mistakes: Kim Basinger, really terrible. Knox, terrible character. Gordon put into secondary role and not played well. Awful choice. Billy D. Williams, great choice as Harvey Dent, not in the movie enough. Alfred, well cast, poorly characterized. Why is he bringing Vicky Vale down into the Batcave? He's too obsessed with getting Bruce Wayne. That's the thing. It goes to these classic Hollywood tropes, like he's got to fall in love, instead of introducing us to the Batman, the world's greatest detective. He's hardly even a fucking detective. He can't figure anything out in this damn movie. He's like a moron. He's like, oh, that's what's going on. It's like, dude, I figured that out in the first 5 minutes. No, he doesn't even come off that smart. It's annoying. Yeah, I mean, really, his recreation of the Batman, of Bruce Wayne's parents getting killed, is like every other one you've ever seen, so it's no better or no worse. You've seen that scene 100 times. So yeah, Anton Furst set design, 10 out of 10, Danny Elfman score, and some good acting from the two leads. I think that's why everyone thinks they love this film, and they hold on to it. I think that's what's kept it alive in people's minds, is those things. But if you go back and you just watch it, and you sit down and you try to watch it, it's like, man, I used to be able to watch this film all the time. Oh my god, it's dull to the point that it's kind of baffling how it was even a hit at the time, because I go back and watch Last Crusade or Back to the Future 2, and those films still have a lot of energy and great special effects, and definitely like did new things with the franchise and stuff. So I'm like, okay, I see why these films were, you know, big hits. This movie, it's kind of like, Jesus, how did this catch on? Why was this so popular? Like, I'd have to go back to the 80s, because everyone fucking loved Batman. But man, I'm like, man, if I'd have walked out of the theater, I'd just been like, that was it? All the hype, and that was the movie we got? Was that shit? I mean, that's how it feels now, and that sucks. But it's so weird, because that didn't happen with me with Superman or Blade or other film. Or the first X-Men by Bryan Singer, I still think's a really fun movie. You know, if a little generic, it's still a lot of fun. I just don't think Batman's that fun. It doesn't need to be fun, but come on, you can't tell me it's a palpable drama that's really deep. It's as basic of the parallels between Jack Napier and Bruce Wayne are as, there's no subtext. I mean, it's laid on thick, and it doesn't go that deep. It's all on the surface. Batman killing people I can forgive in this movie. I wish they would have explored his morality a little bit more, as he seems to have none. And I wish they would have explained the timeline of Gotham and Batman a little bit better, and went into, you know, just why he's Batman and him being Batman. But once again, it seemed like Burton had no... If you spend all the time in the movie that's on Vox and Vicky and some of the scenes with the Joker, and you made those scenes about Batman in the Batcave with Bruce Wayne, if Burton would focus on, you'd probably have a pretty okay movie. I'll give the movie that. If you change that aspect, if the movie had more of Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne and more scenes, it'd probably be a pretty okay movie watching him be Batman. It's just there's not enough of it. So those scenes, you know, they just seem so good because you're just given these little tiny action bits. Burton doesn't have a lot of interest in action, which his whole career really shows, and he doesn't have a lot of interest in the drama of the characters. So at the end of the day, it's just kind of a film that's there, but that's it. It's just kind of there, and that's unfortunate. I know a lot of people love Batman '89, but I do not share your love. Still, it's important. It's an important film in film history. It's an important film in Bat history, and it probably did lead us to more serious and better comic book films. Although I don't know how much it helped because after that we got the Joel Schumacher films that were cartoony. It wasn't like there was all these serious comic book films after Batman. That didn't really happen. I don't think the change really happened until Blade and X-Men and stuff like that. And the Matrix. I actually think the Matrix is the thing that changed everything. The Matrix is the film that made everyone think you could go see superhero comic book films. It wasn't necessarily Batman because you gotta take the time span from Batman from the superhero kick. It's so long. It's so long. I'd say the Matrix had more to do with Spider-Man becoming a hit than Batman did. Anyway, like, comment, and subscribe. Give me your opinion in the comments. How do you feel about Batman? What's your favorite Batman movie? Are you a fan of the Caped Crusader? What's your favorite comic book in the series? Graphic novel, issue, what have you. Thanks for watching.